Lift Misconceptions, Episode 2. Modernising a lift makes it better. No, it fucking doesn't. So you've got here the best of the best. There's no lift that's ever been invented that is better than these lifts. These are Schindler M series. These lifts level so good. It is nothing. No modern day lift. No matter what lift you buy, you cannot get a lift better than these. Schindler do still sell these, but I only sell them as the Schindler 7000 for high-rise buildings only. You can no longer buy these lifts for mid-rise buildings like this. Actually, you might be able to get away with buying one for this sort of mid-rise building, but generally speaking no one does. I'd get a 5500 for this application in the modern day, which sadly means it's hard to buy these models, but these lifts are the absolute best. You can't get better. But these are now about 20 years old, and guess what? The lift company comes along and wants to modernise them, and they could oil them, do some work on them, do some stuff to make them run better, although they're actually running very good, so it's not really much they need to do in the first place, but they definitely do not need to change the logic. Now they've added this really nice orange bit around the outside. That is a good thing. Well done, Generic Lift Company, for that, although it's probably not even Generic Lift Company there, it's probably its building designer. That looks good, and I thought that's good. They've put effort into making a lift look nice, but they haven't changed the logic, because there's nothing you can do to that logic to make it better. It's the best logic ever invented. And I actually thought that's what they're going to do. Well done to Into Bromley, or Bromley Glades, whatever they've now called it. They've called it back to Glades again, for making a lift look better but not changing the logic. Well done for understanding you've got the best logic ever, because Schindler M series logic slows down perfectly from full speed to stop in one controlled go. It doesn't slow down a bit then slow down a bit more. It's absolutely perfect. No lift is more efficient than this, and no lift runs better than this, and no lift is quicker than this. It is the absolute best. And they've even put on these new indicators. But guess what? These new indicators they've put on are now going to be replaced, because they actually decided to replace the logic, which is absolutely stupid. So these lifts here are the ones that are still original and are sadly about to be modernised. Now, all of the modernisations I'm going to demonstrate in this video are not actually that bad, because luckily 2018 we've now finally at bloody last moved away from blind VFs. Blind VFs are VF drives like Omron. You have one circuit that makes it go fast, one circuit that makes it go slow. It's like blind. The logic now says go fast, then when it gets near floor, logic now says go slow. When it slows down, then when it gets to floor, the logic now tells it to stop. That is the worst sort of VF, because it's so inefficient. A VF drive does not know where the lift is in the shaft. It's the worst of the worst. Blind VFs should have been kept to the 90s. But nope, until very recently, blind VFs were still installed, and blind VFs are absolutely horrible. But finally, no more blind VFs. All of the modernisations are not blind, which is a really good thing. But despite that, they're pretty good, but they're not as good as the M series, because the M series is so good, no modern day lift has outcompeted it. Now, the M series works on a reference point and tacho. So lifts going up has a reference point, and the reference point tells logic you've now got a twist point in the shaft, but as the lift keeps on going, the tacho then keeps it updated wherever it is until it gets to the next reference point. And then Schindler perfectly done this. No other company has done it as good as Schindler. Schindler have perfected the tacho and reference point system, as they've made the lift so good. Now, there's going to be several different modernisations with different logics, but first, before these lifts get replaced, they've replaced the outside button, but a logic's still original for now. And sadly, I thought that's all they're going to do, replace the button, which is not so good, but I thought they'd keep logic the same, but no, the logic is going to be changed. So here's the last ride of these epic lifts before the logic gets replaced, and look at how well they level. Watch the efficiency of this lift. Epic buttons. These buttons look amazing. The Dewhurst they replaced the lift is not that good. Doors closed, and got instant start up. Very, very nice. And watch the lines on the wall. That give you an idea. And watch how quick it slows down. Slowing down, controlled the whole way, and pre-doored. At no point did it ever change its rate of de-acceleration. The rate of de-acceleration was exact and controlled the entire way. It is perfect. No lift is better than this. So as we go back up, oh no, it's still going down. Getting into the tunnel section, this is a really nice lift ride. And watching the wall, watch the rate of de-acceleration as it slows down when it gets to a floor. So watch carefully and completely controlled. Also notice T-shaped lift, Schindler speciality for T-shaped lift. Perfect de-acceleration again. Classic Schindler lighting at the top, classic Schindler interior, epic Schindler buttons. Classic Schindler T-shaped lift, sadly about to have its logic changed. Next one we're going to see is one that's sadly been modernised. Now, this modernisation isn't as bad as an Omron blind VF, but it's still absolutely terrible, and it's the worst modernisation of the modernisations I'm about to show you. This one's been modernised with URBEX, with Digital Advanced Logic. Digital Advanced is a logic which is designed specifically to work with URBEX, and it is a not great logic. It's got a horrible voice. This lift is going down. I hate that button, that's shit. Display's already failed, even though I said it a couple of years ago. I have been in the motor room. Also notice when it's going up, because the weight of the lift also going up, it uses kinetic to show the lift down, and when it's using kinetic you can hear a high-pitched sound. It's quite weird, it actually makes that noise when using kinetic to keep the lift from going too fast. And this has got the worst levelling of all of them. Also, even got one of the floor numbers wrong. Actually, that's changed. That inside used to be same as that bun. I've already changed it, so that bun lasted amazingly well. 1A is the wrong name. It should be lower ground, low shops, upper shops. 1A makes no sense. I'm going to go to 2 and just watch how bad, where you can't actually see because it's not glass, but the levelling is atrocious. Now, URBEX can level fairly well, but it's not as good as the Schindler. The levelling is terrible. Long starts up okay. It's running sort of okay, slows down, but no! It would have opened its doors by now if it's still original. Oh, that's bad. And there's no pre-doors. That is awful, absolutely awful. Who thought this was acceptable? This lift was an M series, it was perfect. It is absolutely terrible. How could I take a lift that works the best there is and make it run just pathetically not that good? Slows down, now it's levelling, still levelling, now finally stopped, now opens the doors. The Schindler doors had already been fully open before this lift even started to open its doors, if it is still original. That is how bad this lift is. Now along to the next modernisation. The next lift modernisation is done by Cone. Now remember, all of the lift modernisations in this video, the top speed has not been changed. The only thing that's been changed pretty much is how efficiently it comes into land. Now then, this Cone modernisation of the Schindler M series, the Schindler M series, absolutely perfect, nothing can beat it. The Cone is actually almost as good, but not quite. This is by far the best of the modernisations. It lands very, very well. The Cone is also a system using reference point and tacho. It's not quite as good as the Schindler M series, as it ever so slightly tails off just before it stops, but only slightly. It's actually almost as good. Cone is one of the best lift companies nowadays, and they make really good lifts. The only companies that make lifts better than Cone in the present day are Mitsubishi, who make intelligent levelling, and also Schindler, but only their Schindler 7000, which is a continuation of the M series. Schindler 5500 and Schindler 3300 are not as good as the equivalent Cone models of the same quality levels. This Cone modernisation is very good. Let's take a ride in it and see how well it levels. The thing that's been changed on all these modernisations is the doors. On the URBEX modernisation, they've been changed to generic GAL doors. On this one, changed to Cone doors. It's interesting that the doors is one thing that gets changed in all of them. It seems to be a thing that goes wrong and they want to replace, but there's no reason why I couldn't replace the Schindler M series doors without changing the logic, since the M series logic did not need changing. But nevertheless, this Cone is by far the best of the modernisations in this video. Look how quick it levels. Very good. You wouldn't really even notice the difference from the video. You can feel the difference ever so slightly. So let's go down to 1. So you've got Cone panel. It says Cone is a Cone mod. The motor's not been replaced. All these modernisations, the motor's still a Schindler motor. Motor's not been changed. It's just logic and VF that's been changed. So it speeds up. Identical to how the Schindler M series was sped up. Very nice. Very good of Cone. Now as we come into land, watch. Very good. Slows down. Oh, ever so slight lack of the acceleration at that moment. So this lift's very busy. So let's just take a look here. Watch how it deaccelerates. You probably wouldn't even notice this from a Schindler M series, but you can feel it ever so slightly lax on its deacceleration. It's not perfect. And no pre-doors. Despite that Cone can do pre-doors, there's no pre-doors in this, very sadly. Cab still looks original. Nice Schindler M series lift cab. So the last lift on this video is some Schindler M series which have sadly been modernised with Leicester Magnatech. And the final lift in this video is a Schindler M series that's been modernised with Leicester with Magnatech VF. Now this obviously is nowhere good as the Schindler M series, because the Schindler M series is absolutely perfect. It's got exact deacceleration. The acceleration is exactly the same from when it starts going down to when it stops. Absolutely perfect, controlled, deacceleration, and the rate of deacceleration does not change through the entire thing. Now, this Leicester with Magnatech is actually full intelligent. The Schindler M series was only semi-intelligent. It had reference points and tachos, so that's semi-intelligent. The Magnatech VF uses a 2D barcode that goes up the entire length of the shaft, so it knows its exact position at all times, so it's fully intelligent. But despite that, it's not as good as the Schindler, but it's a massive improvement over how Leicester controls used to be. Leicester controls used to be utter shit, with blind VFs. We'd go along at one speed, then the VF gets circuit to go to a slow speed when it gets to a certain point, then it stops. The most inefficient way of doing things. Blind VFs are so bad, they're actually worse than old-fashioned, simple two-speed levelling. That is how bad blind VFs are, because the VF had so many delays to it. But the new Magnatech VFs on Leicester controls are much, much better. But they're not that fast. They've got a really bad acceleration of acceleration. When a lift starts up, at the moment where it starts up, it very slowly increases its acceleration until it reaches full acceleration. And the same with deacceleration and when it lands. So it's full intelligent, so it comes into the floor completely intelligently, very well. This lift's actually very good. It's full intelligent, but as it rises at the floor, it slows down at a set rate, then it gradually, then it has this like over smoothness. Now Leicester controls always seem to have this ridiculous over smoothness to their logics. It's completely unnecessary, and it's very intelligent, but the rate of the acceleration is slower, and when it comes into land it's like overprotective. It like the deacceleration like tails off really gently just as it stops, and that causes a delay, so it's not as good as the Schindler M series. Even though the way it does its intelligent levelling is perfect on these Leicester Magnatechs. It's actually got perfect intelligent levelling, but it's not as quick. The Schindler M series semi-intelligent levelling is much more efficient because of how well they perfected it. Really annoying, so I added this, which actually looks nice, actually looks good, and especially orange, that looks very good. I added all of this, and added a new indicator. Before that indicator, they replaced the M series indicator with a new indicator, which isn't so good. But I thought, well, that's all the work they're doing to it. They've updated the lift, but they haven't changed the logic. I thought that was a really good decision to update the lift, but the logic still original. I thought it was so good, but just a year after they replaced the indicator, they replaced it again as the logic's now been replaced, and that required a new indicator to work with Leicester controls. So just when I thought they made a good decision of updating it without replacing the logic, they then go and replace the logic. Ugh. Take a look at this lift modernised with Leicester controls. So, let's take a look. So, acceleration. See that really slow start to acceleration. That is awful. Oh, Schindler M series was so quick. Perfect intelligent levelling, but it's slow perfect intelligent levelling. No pre-doors. Even though this model of Leicester can do pre-doors. Go on car preference, because it's really busy, don't know if people get in it. So let's watch it start up. Oh, very slow start up. The Schindler M was so quick and so efficient. And versus perfect intelligent levelling, it's nowhere near as quick. Then it stops for ages, so it opens its doors. Let's go back down to one, watch it again. And the Schindler M series buds look so good. And even though it's a brand new Leicester with Magnatech, still the same voice, and it's a horrible voice. Then ages for doors open after it stops. If they had a better voice and better buttons, it'd be really good. It's perfect intelligent, it's perfect intelligent curve, but why can't it just go as quick as the M series did? That concludes the video. The M series, nothing beats that M series levelling. The M series levelling is absolutely perfect. There's nothing that can possibly beat it. All these logics, although better in the days of blind VF, work better than that, but they're not as good as the M series. The M series was such a well-designed, well-thought-out logic, leveled so efficiently and so quickly. All these mods are not as good as it, and they should have left the logic original. Maybe apart from Cone, that was good, but the others, they should have left it with M series logic. Update the lift, yeah, make it look a bit better, make sure it's all do a lot of mechanical work, make sure it's all running well, because it's been like in service non-stop use for 20 years, but logic did not need replacing. So, to sum up, Schindler M series is absolutely perfect. Schindler have perfected the reference point and tacho system, so a lift deaccelerates constantly at an exact deacceleration rate, the whole way through until the lift's completely stopped. The deacceleration does not tail off at the end so the lift can find its position. It stays exactly the same until it's stopped, which is absolutely perfect. Cone LCE is second best, but just at the end before it stopped, the deacceleration tails off so the lift can find its exact stopping place, so it's not quite as good, but usually the lift pre-doors at this stage, so it's not actually a problem. In some lifts, the VF lift drive is set up so it doesn't deaccelerate as fast, that's just a setting, and it can actually deaccelerate as fast as Schindler M series if it's set to. Leicester with Magnetar is third best, which is surprising since Leicester used to be really shit in the past. It does full perfect intelligent levelling using a 2D barcode system, and it runs very well, except it just doesn't deaccelerate that fast, and at the very end it rounds off too soon because it has acceleration of the deacceleration, which causes it to round off to be smooth, but it does it ridiculously too smooth. It's unnecessary, and it makes it take longer time than it should, despite the fact it's full intelligent. URBEX Zeta is fourth. The lift knows its exact position using a tacho on a strip with teeth in going up the shaft, but despite this, it seems to round off early to find its position like it's not quite sure of itself. It can be set up to be really efficient, but in my experience, I've never found it that efficient. And obviously, worst of all is Leicester with Omron Blind VF, where it just gets told to slow down at a certain point, then told to stop at the next point. And what's even worse about Leicester with Omron is it's slower than a classic 2-speed lift, like using relays. And also, another thing that really pisses me off about Leicester with Omron is that even when it gets to the stopping point, the VF brings it complete to a stop, then it waits a second with the VF holding it still, and only then does the brake apply and the doors open. Oh, it's painful.
Renate,